This is another one of those kind of game changers when it comes to healthy desserts. So I just placed out on the countertop everything that we're going to need for these delicious vegan chocolate brownies. So what we are going to use for our sweetener is 2 very ripe bananas, about small to medium in size. And you can simply just peel those quickly and throw those in your food processor. All these ingredients that you see here, we're just going to toss right into the food processor, blend it up, and then put in a baking sheet and throw it in the oven for just a little bit. Not a baking sheet, I'm sorry, baking dish. So we've got our 2 bananas in there, and then we are just going to add a dash of salt, about a pinch of some sea salt, which I have here. And I'll quickly grab that. Like I said, just a pinch. This is just going to bring out the flavor of both the chocolate and the sweetness in these delicious healthy brownies. We are going to use for our chocolate flavor a mixture of both chocolate chips and some cocoa powder, and I'm going to use about 3 tablespoons of that. And this is naturally unsweetened cocoa, so we're going to add a little sweetener with the agave or honey in order to sweeten this up, as well as those bananas. Now traditionally in a lot of brownie recipes you'll notice they call for a ton of either sugar, brown sugar, whatever it is. We're going to use the equivalent of about 2 to 4 tablespoons of agave, and that would be all that we're going to use in these brownies. And I like to go on the smaller end, so I usually do just about 2 tablespoons for my family. 4 tablespoons is the initial recipe, what it calls for, but I think 2 tablespoons is perfect. You can play around with it and see what you like for your family. I'm going to add about 1 teaspoon of some vanilla extract here, and then we're going to add 1 whole cup of your favorite nut butter. I think a really good nut butter in this instance would be either an almond butter, or right now I've got a cashew butter. And you're going to add a full cup of it. And for me, that's going to empty out my jar here. So I'm just going to go ahead. Oh, this stuff is so good. And add that in there. This is going to give your brownies a kind of creamy, nutty, sweet taste. And just put a scoop in there. Alright. And then last but not least, after doing the whole 30, we had discovered that dairy was not really something that went well in our diet. So I have switched now to, I don't know if you can see these are called Enjoy Life, and these are actually dairy, nut, and soy free. I was hesitant to buy these and taste them thinking they'd be nothing like chocolate chips, but I have to tell you, I am so utterly impressed with these that I think I bought, like, no joke, on Amazon I bought about 50 pounds worth. I think I've got like 15 bags of these in my pantry now. So the recipe calls for a cup, and again, I just, I don't think things need that much sweetness, so I'm just going to go shy of a cup. And before I add those in, I'm going to pulse this and blend this all in. This is something that we used to use all the time. I love these dark chocolate 60% cacao Ghirardelli baking chips. Something like this would be absolutely perfect in there too. So now that we've got all that in there, I'm just going to pulse this. Want to show you kind of what we're working with here, and it actually will kind of resemble brownie batter. It's going to be pretty thick though and dense, but it's going to have that creaminess to it. Now the reason that I'm not going to add in my baking chips until I have this well blended is because I do want that consistency of kind of that crunch or that big bite of chocolate when I go into my brownies, as opposed to putting it in here and blending it down to nothing and having it be part of the actual brownie base. So that's my reasoning for that. I'm just going to scrape down the sides, blend this up a little bit more, and then we'll add in our chocolate chips and get our baking pan ready. Alrighty, so I have pulsed this really good. It's all nice and pureed together. I have my glass, what is it, 8x8, 9x9 baking sheet that I have placed a piece of parchment paper in, and I've sprayed it with a little bit of some coconut oil spray. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in those chips and just pulse it 1 or 2 times to incorporate the chips. You could also fold them in if you feel more comfortable doing that. I like to let my machine do the work, so I'm just going to go ahead and pulse them to get those incorporated. And then we're going to empty everything into our baking dish here. So. Alright, just until I feel like they have all been incorporated. I'm going to go ahead and take out my blade. And I'm going to be careful to scrape all that goodness off of it. You do not want to lose any of this. These are so ooey gooey, just like your best. I mean, if you like more cake-like brownies, I've got another recipe for you. This would not be it. This is going to definitely be more of your kind of gooey fudge-like brownies. And they are so good. And then you get that little bit of chocolate chunk from the chips in there. Delicious. So I'm going to fold this out into my baking dish here. And then I'll just kind of spread it evenly. I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees. And we'll go ahead and place it in there. Keep an eye on the time. And I will keep you posted on when they're done. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and spread this out. Now, I don't know about you guys, but there is not really a single thing in this brownie recipe that I feel bad about giving my kids. Granted, there's some chocolate chips in here, dairy-free, mind you, but chocolate anyway. But you know what? All things in moderation. This is not only grain-free, it's refined sugar-free. It is dairy-free because of the chips I use. If you use regular chocolate chips, there'll be a little bit of dairy. I mean, it is vegan. There's no animal products in here whatsoever. And if you have a little kiddo like mine who has celiac and also type 1 diabetes, this is something that I enjoy making. I know that they absolutely love it. They don't miss the fact that these aren't, you know, normal brownie recipe at all, because they taste just as good, just as gooey, and they're none the wiser. And you know, it doesn't make me feel bad when I go back for my 3rd, 4th, or 5th one. I usually make this in double batches too, because this does not last long at all in our house. But you get the idea, so I'm just kind of spreading this out. It is a thick batter. And then I'm just going to place it in the oven, and I'll show you what these look like when they are done. It is divine. Okay guys, so here we are 15 minutes later at 350 degrees. You can see all the little chocolate chips melting in there. I cannot wait to cut this open, but I am going to let it cool completely. Maybe even give it, you know, 30 minutes to an hour to really let it cool and set. And then I'll go ahead and cut it and give you guys a good look at what it looks like inside. It will make about 9 of these delicious ooey gooey brownies. Enjoy guys, give it a thumbs up if you like, and don't forget to subscribe.